Hi there crafters, welcome along. It's Louise with you today. I am currently sitting in front of the fan, so I hope this is not too noisy. It's super hot in Queensland, Australia, but I thought I would share another 3 old and 3 new video with you today. Now, while I have my Vicki Boutin supplies out from the last video, I thought why not stash bust another Vicki Boutin product layout. So you can see I'm using an older 6x8 paper pad. I have got some stickers, chipboard sheets, floral embellishments. I've got a stencil, some paste and a few little bits and pieces. So gonna have a bit of a stash bust today. So I have chosen a photo, and it is a single photo, so it's just the one photo on this layout. But sometimes if I'm getting really mixed media, that's what I like to do. I like to just create with a single photo so that I can really focus on creating that sort of interesting background element. Now, I am a huge fan of Vicki Boutin. I think she makes the most fabulous pages. I love her mixed media and her rainbow ability and her embellishing ability. So what I'm going to try and do is create my own version of a Vicki Boutin background. So, she creates the most amazing, colourful backgrounds, and that's what I wanted to try and replicate on this page. The elements are super easy to use, so I've chosen the All This Happiness massive chipboard piece that has been in my stash from quite a few collections ago, but you can see that this process of this video is all about stash busting those elements. So some of the die cuts here, again, these have been sitting in my stash. It can be tricky to use them if you don't have the right photo, but in this case the leaves that I add to my cluster don't necessarily go with the photo, but they add quite an interesting amount of color and texture to the embellishment cluster that I've built around my photo. So it depends on how I'm feeling on the day. Sometimes I will do my background first, sometimes I will build my cluster first and then build my background around it. So today it's all about the cluster first, and then I'm going to go ahead and have a bit of a crack at my own version of a Vicki Boutin background. Now, the color pastes that came out a little while ago, they are really fun to use. I love the way they spread through the stencils. I am, of course, using the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. It is the paper that I have found is least likely to warp, so it's quite a thick cardstock. I don't use it with any gessos or anything on the background. I think it works quite well. It doesn't tend to warp when you add mediums, when you add waters, things like that to it. So I just go with it and apply my mixed media straight onto the background. First technique that I'm using is just taking my spatula dipped in the paste, and I'm just spreading a little bit of that around on the cluster. This sort of gives me a base, and I don't want too much of this to show. I actually like when you get those little pieces of this that are kind of, I don't know how to explain myself, like the little extra swipes that don't actually blend in with the background. So the little pops outside the main focus of that back mixed media. So I tend to get a bit messy with my spatula. I don't mind when I'm creating with mixed media if it gets a little bit messy. It can have as much or as little of the paste as I happen to be feeling on the day. The thing I love about scrapbooking and mixed media is that there are no rules. You do you. Go ahead and play with texture, play with paste, play with backgrounds. If you love the creation that you've made, fantastic, go with it. If you don't like the creation, it's just scrapbooking. I have thrown out many mixed media backgrounds because I might have a bit of a play with something and then really not like how it looks. So, you know what? I just chuck it. You can always reprint a photo. I've got plenty of supplies in my stash. I don't necessarily need to keep something that I don't love. Now, when I was doing the paste with this layout, I had some paste on the back of the stencil, which kind of gave this reverse stencil effect. And so I decided that I was going to just press some of the paste that was on the stencil around the textured stencil and add some little pops of gold that way. So there wasn't anything too technical. It was just pressing a little bit of that texture paste to match the little bit that I'd made a mess with, really. Now this little section at the top was a last minute addition because I felt like the page needed something. It was all very much in that lower section, so I'm sort of going to replicate what I created down low in this upper section just to finish off that visual triangle in terms of drawing the eye. So the triangle is the butterfly, the title, and then the cluster of leaves. So those are the 3 points of my triangle, and that's how you get that sort of visually pleasing layout. Once I'm happy, everything's sort of dried, I am thinking more about texture. So I pull out some twine, and I also like to incorporate something a little bit black in my layout. It draws the eye and it adds that pop of colour. So I'm simply just going to add some twists of twine around the cluster here. It didn't have to be anything sort of too fancy. It was really just about adding that sort of breakup from the cluster of the photo with that mixed media background. And I just use a bit of washi tape to stick that down. So that's my very technical way to adhere those elements. All right, I'm pretty happy with this now. I'm going to start to stick everything down. I love how this turned out. I think the colours are great. I think the embellishments are great. I'm so happy that I got to use up some of my stash items. This photo is a picture from my boy's 10th birthday, so I'm still getting through some of my scrappy photo stash, and I really am enjoying this old and new combination series. It gives me a chance to really use some of my stash and get some memories created. So thank you to everyone who leaves a lovely comment and is enjoying this series. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe.